Welcome to my YouTube channel. It has been now 9 months since I started on Etsy with my digital products. I'm in the productivity niche, and in today's video I actually don't want to talk about my Etsy shop, but I was asked to review another Etsy shop and give a little bit of feedback, what they are doing right and maybe where they can improve. So I have their permission to go through their shop and give a little bit of feedback. I really liked making that video because it is interesting to see what you really need to pay attention to. And there's a lot of things, little things you have to pay attention. So in today's video, I basically go through that shop and analyze the shop and the listings. Before we start, I just wanted to let you know that you can get 40 free listings in the description down below. If you start your Etsy shop, make sure to grab your free listings from the link below. And also, if you need any digital product ideas, there's another link in my description where you can grab all those ideas and have a look and see what fits you. So without further ado, let's start with the Etsy shop review, and let me know in the comments down below what you thought and if it was maybe helpful for your own Etsy shop. And also make sure to subscribe to follow me in my Etsy success. I call it success, yes, with the ups and downs and the numbers especially, to see what's happening. I really like to build a community and to exchange with you your journey, and I want to hear from you down in the comments below. Let's get started. So this is actually her shop. It's called Landscape Creations EU. So I'm just going through a few details and say, like, from my experience, what works quite well and what maybe can be improved. I think the first impression is actually really nice. It's a really nice banner. It does basically repeat the name of the shop, and it says for living rooms. Okay, if all the pictures are for living rooms, why not? If you want to, you could maybe have a more detailed message to buyers, but the reality of it is that not everyone is looking at your shop, so you don't have to exaggerate, but you can evoke a little bit a feeling when people come and say, like, why they should really buy these vintage printables. I think you can maybe change the name in general. I'm not sure why she wrote here EU in the name. Maybe the name was already taken, Landscape Creations, and so she thought because she's based in Europe, she can use EU. In my opinion, I would not add this to the name, just because from my experience as well, a lot of buyers are from other countries, especially the US and Canada. Not that they would be put off by it, but it sometimes looks like there is a bit of a barrier in location, like from Europe. I mean, it is fine to have it here actually down as a location. I have the same thing. I am based in Sweden and I wrote down I'm based in Sweden. So I think it's okay to really be true to where you live, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in your name. So if you can change that, I would change that. But then let's have a look at the profile picture. So that's the logo. The logo you have here. The logo is absolutely fine. What I do recommend is for your profile picture, have something which represents a human. I think that works really well on Etsy because it's like a personal platform. There's like individual sellers. It's really nice to have a face to the shop, and it doesn't have to be a photograph if you don't want to show yourself. It could be an avatar, for example. Nowadays with Midjourney, you can also create like variations of yourself. So yeah, I would recommend that. And when we scroll down a little bit, as far as I know, she told me that she opened her shop this year, so 7th of January. It's a very new shop. It's only really a little bit over a month old. So what do we have here? Announcement: buy 3, get 60% off, 50% off all prints. Yeah, you can see 50% is off. You know, with the announcement, you can definitely use that to show people like a percentage off. But sometimes I feel like, especially if you're a new shop, it is really nice to have a bit of a personal message there. Something about your products. You can still add the percentage off, and you can actually also have the percentage in your banner if that's something you really care about and you want people to know that. But also use this announcement for something more personal, like have 1 or 2 lines where you explain a little bit what your shop is about, or why your vintage wall art is better than others maybe, or why they are quite unique, something like that. And then we scroll down here. So first of all, you have your all and on sale. You haven't really categorized your products, your listings. I would do that that definitely, because it just is easier for people maybe to find something. And also each kind of collection folder, whatever you want to call it on Etsy, gives you another indication of like some keywords. For example, you can say nature vintage wall art, or flower vintage wall art, or whatever you have in categories. Autumn vintage wall art. All these are also keywords you can use. By the way, so these are printables, and it is vintage wall art, which is actually quite popular on Etsy. I can show you probably a little bit like what it does look on eRank. I use eRank to look at keywords to see how popular they are on Etsy. So you actually have a bit of an orientation, and you can create things people actually want. So let's go into one listing here. So you have here a little banner as well. Like, you definitely want to make sure that people see your like offers basically, which is not a bad thing at all. And here you have printable, wildflower, field, landscape, oil painting, vision, and so on and so on. Digital download number 32. And then we can see here a little bit of a description. When I actually first looked at the listing, now maybe you have changed it, but it was in German. Like, the description was in German. And that was my first kind of feedback actually. Make sure it is English, because people get an automatic translation wherever they are in the world. You know, if they're in Germany, they will see it in German. But make sure to really do it in English so everyone can find it. Especially when it comes to digital products, you want a worldwide audience, and you have to make sure that it is in English, and then you have like local translation. So you don't have to take care of that. It just automatically happens. Then let's have a look at the pictures. These actually look quite nice, showing a little bit the surroundings. Like, it's really nice mock-ups. I like it. So that's really good, high quality. And then you have a bit of an overview of the sizes, can be printed. That's also really good to have, good information. The last one is again like the sales people can have a look at. If they want to buy more, they have here the opportunity and get more percentage off. So that's absolutely fine. Back to the keywords here: printable, wildflower, field, landscape, oil painting, vintage, landscape, art frame, art, farmhouse, vintage decor, country field, wall art, digital download. So I think that is much better. I think you did some improvements there. Let's go to the description. And here we have it again. So you say printable wall art instant download, which is really good, because people should really know that this is a file they can download, or files, and not mistaking it for like a real vintage wall art they actually receive, they get shipped to. But then you can see you have a little bit of German in here again. I'm German, so I can read that. But for anyone else, it looks just a little bit weird. Like, you would think like, why is that here in German? And then we have English again, includes files, and again you have German here. So make sure that this is all in English. Like, people get really confused, and if they really read the description, they would probably not buy. Maybe it is translated into their language, fair enough, but I am not based in Germany and I'm seeing this in German, so I have the feeling that it's not translated into the language where I am based at. So again, lots of German. Just make this all English so there is no confusion for people. And I think buyers are quite used to see things in English, unless you really want to just have a German audience, which I definitely don't recommend, because the number is so much smaller and there's nothing German in your products. There's no text like German text where you maybe want to just reach a German audience. It's vintage wall art, it's just a picture. So you really want to reach a wide audience worldwide, and that means you should have everything in English. Also the legal information. Everything needs to be in English. And when I first looked at the shop, there were 0 sales. So now you have 6 sales and 5-star reviews. I think that is really, really good. My recommendation would be get some of your family members or friends to buy from you. I know it sounds like illegal, but I think there's nothing wrong with sharing your shop with some friends and family, and get like, you know, 3 to 5 people who buy from you, and then also leave a review. I can see here that you maybe have done that because, or it is a customer who bought like 3 different ones. That's absolutely fine as well. But you got a few reviews, and that really, really helps, I think, for people to build trust with you. Obviously, don't go overboard and ask 20 different people and get 20 reviews. I think a few is just fine. You don't want to do anything illegal on Etsy. You just want to get your shop started. So the vintage wall art digital download category is a good niche to be in, and this shop owner also sent me a few shops they admire and they're doing really well on Etsy, but the whole shop appearance is quite similar to these shops. So I would say, is there any possibility to spice it up a little bit, have a bit of a different approach? I like all these images for sure. I would also A/B test a little bit, have one of these vintage images as a first, and then try kind of maybe duplicate the same listing and just change the order of the images. For example, have this as your first image just to see what people respond to more. They're responding to a picture with just the image, or do they like to see the picture in action immediately and then they click on it? So I would actually test it a little bit. That way you also have more listings, you increase your listings, and you can experiment with different parts of your listing, like the images. And you have 34 listings, which is definitely pretty good. I would also recommend is to keep going and add more listings, because this is also a little bit of a volume game. And I looked at the competitors, ones she admires, they have a lot of listings, a lot of different listings. So in this category, in this niche, is also a numbers game. And you can see obviously you have a price point of around $4, which is still quite low. So you have to really sell a lot to make proper money from it. And again, it's good to have just more listings. And I know she's only doing this part-time. She has a full-time job. So it is not always possible for sure. But do try to see if you can increase the number of your listings and categorize them. And see also what is quite seasonal. Because I have looked into this niche. There is a lot of potential with the seasons. You know, people love spring pictures, Easter pictures. Easter is very popular and people buy that. Valentine's Day, which is already now over, so but maybe for next year, that's something to bear in mind. 2 months before Valentine's Day, it's probably good to have like Valentine's Day themed vintage art. And over time, you should see better results. When we look at your keywords, I think this looks all pretty good. Bedroom, farmhouse, cottage. I mean, have a look at earring, for example, what each keyword really brings as results and base it on that. I think it is good to do a little bit of keyword research, especially because you're selling similar items. Doing like an intensive keyword research probably helps you a lot categorize your images. And then you can see a little bit like competitors and they look very similar, right? And then you have a bit of a competition with the price here. So it is quite a competitive niche when we look at something like this. And this is even a bestseller. So you can see there is quite a bit of competition out there. In demand, 10 people bought this in the last 24 hours. And it even looks similar to some of your images, some of your printables, but it is quite similar in appearance. Actually, the more picture you can present, the better. Like people like to see all the details and different variations and backgrounds, basically. Why not? But you do have that covered quite a bit on your channel, so that's absolutely fine. Let's have a look at this one, which is basically a competitor. Mid art prints, printable wall art, vintage art, oil painting, and then categorized, you can see botanical flowers, animal wall art. Like really try to categorize them. The more detail you can give, the better. But also see on eRank what people are searching for. And here below your shop name, it says for you digital landscape wall art. Try to find some really good keywords people are looking for as well. Maybe they do look for digital landscape wall art. Maybe they also look for vintage oil painting wall art or digital vintage landscape, whatever it is. Like make sure that you really get all the potential of your listings. So that was my review of this Etsy shop. I hope you could take away a few bits and bobs for your own Etsy shop, and I hope I will see you in my next video. Bye!